The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
All right. Shalom. Salama. Siemi. Shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you are a Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. I welcome you all this morning. This morning, January 14th, 2025. We're in the start of a new year. Some may argue that it's obviously a time of no other. And the way that this new year has started, it has affected us. It has affected our people. And so that's why the name of today is community support. I dropped the link in the description or I have it pinned if anybody wants to jump in, because I'm going to change that out here in a little bit. I'll just drop the share link for the StreamYard. Every so often, if folks want to participate in today's live stream. But yeah, I want to make sure I drop this here for our sister Cassandra and her family out there in LA. Now, um, over the course of these last couple of years, the Most High has actually allowed for me to interact with our brothers and sisters outside of, YouTube. Um, I had interacted with Sister Cassandra in some different spheres through building bridges started by Sister Ashonda and other endeavors in our community. Because the great thing is about our community is that we will support our people, we will support our endeavors. Because at the end of the day, family, understand that we are living in a time and a season. And that's a blessing. And the reason, you know, I really believe this. If the Most High puts it on your heart to give, give. Because here's the thing, I know folks say, oh, she reached her goal. She may have reached her goal. I get it, family. I truly do get it. But let me tell you something about when you go through a devastating incident, when you're going through and potentially becoming a natural disaster refugee. You may say something and you here's the thing. We always, as a project manager, I'm gonna tell you this. You will always undercut your estimate. What you think is gonna be $400 usually is gonna be about 16,000 or 1,600. And yes, and many more people need our help. And here's the thing, family, we are to be a blessing to others. I don't live in California. I don't live in LA. But I understand because I've interacted with the sister personally. Listen, in our community, we are the light. I would have gone on yesterday with this. I like to do some coordinations beforehand because I want to make sure that number one, I want to get the full scope. I don't like to overstep. And I know that when folks go through some different things, it's just like, hey, just throw this on out there. And then a couple, days later and things of that nature, it becomes very, you get the help remorse, right? And we all go through it. I went through it last week. I even got it from my own family members. I don't want you to do this. I want you to do that because, I don't know who's on out there and folks are crazy. Yes. Yes, folks are crazy. Absolutely. Yes, they are. But I'm going to tell you that when you are in that moment to where you are, you need help, then you just have to open up your mouth and just let people know you need help. And that's the most humbling thing to do. See, I thank the Most High that last week he had put something on my heart with a particular issue. Because how can I come on out here and really ask folks to help if I didn't have something like this that I hadn't gone through? To come on in here to tell my story. And then a week later, look at this. Look at what the Most High does. Sometimes when you ask for help, Sister Emmanuel, if you want to come on up, you can come on up. I have the link posted because I was thinking about you this morning. Yes, with this. Because as I was looking at that, uh, no, you can come on up. I think you'll be able to come up. I think. I'm not really able to edit that midstream, but yeah, if you could try. As I was looking at that, and I'm gonna show some photos. I'm not sure if any of the other channels have shown this because I want to share this with you because there's a that's hard. That's hard to really understand the moment because while you're in the moment, you're thinking about a whole lot of things. What do I stay? And what stays and what goes? This is why not just here on Covenant Awakenings, but also in QGWA, we've been saying this. Having that go bag, disaster preparedness, being able to understand when you will need to flee. And you want to know the Most High will provide an example. And for our brothers and sisters that are affected in that example, we ask to help with that support. Because, family, each and every one of us at one point in time, we will be on that end. Father, help me. This is a different Exodus. That's why it's called literally the Greater Exodus. The second Exodus, the greater Exodus. I'm gonna put up on the screen. I know a lot of you had saw this. Shout out to Deborah and Watchman yesterday for sharing the story, and I know a lot of our other family in the in the community. So I have here on the screen. This is help Cassandra with fire rebuild and cancer medical bills. So this is a loss of not just your home, but also a refuge of the physical, especially going through some medical. So this is an overwhelming situation. And you understand when you are going through that condition of being overwhelmed, when you're going through that condition of being stressed already on pre-existing conditions, this impacts your health. And that's why, look, we gotta thoughts and prayers, right? That's great, but also donations. You can help pray, but I'm gonna tell you, go to your church and ask your pastor. Pastor, I really can't give you a donation, or I really can't provide a tithe and offering, but guess what? I'll pray for you. When I grew up in the AME church, oh, you pray for me? Now we got to make this count right, because this building has a mortgage on it. Well, and Miss Cololia, listen, in the heat of the moment, to be quite honest, I don't know why she would say why rebuild. I don't know. The reality is we don't know if this will ever be rebuilt. This wasn't 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. This was during a time where you literally have folks that are not able to really rebuild. And, when they were talking about climate, you know, refugees and things of that nature, understand that these are the cue words that they say, because why? They know that judgment's coming. And that judgment, we're all going to be caught up in it. Back in October, I was thinking, okay, Father, well, thank you. Instead of talking about it, Father, now I'm going to be about it and getting swept up into this hurricane. And I was not able to leave, but I did have a peace that the Most High was going to take care of me. I would probably argue that more than likely heading back east, especially in the southeast, may offer a little bit more support. And that may be the rationale to this. And yeah, and you're absolutely right, Steph. DC. Yeah, yeah. 18,000 will not be enough. So this is why, yes, we do what we can, how we can to support our family. And just giving this to you, this is her sister Cassandra's. That's my aunt's name, Cassandra. Um, this is what she has on her GoFundMe. Hi, my name is Cassandra Sellers. I am a longtime Altadena resident, born and raised. Unfortunately, my family and I were affected by the Eaton fire and we're looking for some help to rebuild our beautiful family home and our lives. Life has been a bit rough lately. I have battled with Hodgkin lymphoma cancer and I'm currently in a recovery treatment. My family and I have already been struggling due to medical bills, and now we have hit another unexpected bump on the road. My family and I would really appreciate any help that is offered. Every dollar matters. God bless you all, the Most High, Yahuwah. And she closes out Romans 8 and 28. And we know that all things God or Yah works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Hallelujah. So I want to share this. So these are some of the photos of her home. Sorry. I know it's going to be a little difficult to see. I'm trying to blow that up for you all as best as I can. You see how things ravish through everything except for the front wall that has the address number. Bushes burned, trees burned, cars burned. These are the other homes of residents in her neighborhood, the destruction that happened within her neighborhood. And you see fires still were ongoing even as they had evacuated. And these are the remnants of structures that were once buildings, cars that were once drivable. And then you have some photos of fires in the distance around the hills and homes that were currently on fire. Let me, sorry about that. I don't know why that didn't go. Give me a second. Let me read. My bad. Let me redo that. Start from the beginning. Okay, here we go. Give me a one if you can see that. There we go. Okay, there we go. These are the photos that Cassandra was able to um, share with me. That's the photo of her home. Everything that's left besides the front wall that shows the address. You see the yard. You see some of the bushes that had burnt. Some of the shrubbery still had some of their leaves left. And then you could also see a lot of the other fire damage in the yard. The car, I'm presuming these were some of those cars in the back were hers. So yeah, understand, family. 18,000 is not enough. That's why I want to make sure that you all have this. The goal. Because if the way that GoFundMe works, once you hit your goal, then GoFundMe will give another arbitrary goal and an arbitrary goal. Listen, I'm sorry. Just what I'm looking at and what you see in California, to me, you would need about a good, I would say roughly a good $300,000 just to start. Just to start. Because they're going to have the vehicles, those will be at cost. And that cost, it won't be a cost of restoring the vehicle or, making whole. And these insurance companies, when they do pay out, if they pay out, it'll be on pennies on the dollar. So yeah, they're just gonna need help anyway. These are some photos taken of around her neighborhood. You see, it was so hot the alloy from the wheels were melting off. That's metal. No, that's not the Terminator. That's not T-1000. That's metal. The landscape, nice and lush, singed, and then you have really everything burned down except for the chimney. And then you still have ongoing fires happening with a burnt out vehicle, remnant of a garage door, and some other things. So I'm presuming that at this angle you're looking at a house, and this looks like this may be her house. So you see the garage door, the car parked outside the garage, the frame for the garage right there. But every other structure gone. You see the same conditions, the remnants of a structure that was once a home. You see other homes that may not have been affected, but this community is going to be affected because they're not going to have power restored for a while. And you still may have some soot damage and other things that may have been damaged in the piping, the sewage, all the other exteriors. See some more pictures of cars or vehicles destroyed, burned up. And looks as though this was some photos she was taking at night as fires were raging in the distance. And some other photos of some homes. And This looks like this. She is watching. To me, this is what it seems as though she is watching her home catching fire. So yeah, family. What can you say? What can you do? So again, I ask that you all support our sister that's going through there and through this. And I pray that the Most High blesses and continues to bless and pour out of these donations so that the Most High is glorified in all this, that He is blessing the works of our hands. Yeah, Sister Game Aunt Me is saying, yeah, some residents are attempting to check on their homes or remnants of their property are getting arrested. And really, that's a shame because you don't know who's going in there and who's rummaging. And she's also saying that the police are treating some of the residents like crap. Also, as I understand about Altadena, this is a this is a large presence of African Americans. Said 18% of Altadena are African Americans, and they have a strong history of not being redlined. Well, that's exactly. And if you know anything about LA, Los Angeles, you do have, it was a red line effort. It was actually a major red line effort that occurred in the 1960s and 1970s. And that's the thing, Shuttler 51. That I'm not sure. Um, and really, we may not know, but at the same time, what we can do is we could try to help meet um, our sister's needs. And I pray that we can also help to meet the needs of others. See, we are blessed to be a blessing. Don't get this thing twisted. The Most High gives us finances to be a blessing to others. That's how kingdom works. And you see why their kingdom is not working because they believe that their blessing was to make it rich. This has been on my mind all day. all day. Let me make sure I get this. This scripture always comes to mind because understand, just as it was done to us, it shall be done to them. Now, are we going to be in part of that fallout? Absolutely, we are. But it's the Most High that will take care of us. This is Zechariah 11. I'm going to start here, verse 1. Open thy doors, O Lebanon, that the fire may devour thy cedars. Howl, fir tree, for the cedar is fallen, because the mighty are spoiled. Howl, O ye oaks of Bashan, for the forest of the vintage is come down. There is a voice of the howling of the shepherds, for their glory is spoiled. A voice of the roaring of young lions, for the pride of Jordan is spoiled. Thus saith Yahuwah, my Elohim or Aloha, feed the flock of the slaughter, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, blessed be Yahuwah, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. See, and you can go on to read this. But everything that was done to us is now being sent right back to them. And what they have undertaken is that they have thought, you want to know what? I am making money. I can do this. I can do that. And it was all about me. Because they feel, even right now in this judgment, right? They hold themselves not guilty. In the time of our deliverance out of our captivity, this is what's happening. See, when we're coming up on out of here crying and our faces thitherwards, looking towards one another, figuring this thing out amongst one another, getting an understanding of one another, of how we are going to move forward. Because why? Because people are going to be leaving out of here weeping. If anything, that what this brings about, let this be. I pray that the Most High allows us to see what this is for us to be a witness as, for us to be a testimony. I'm not glorifying the destruction. I'm not. But it's the Most High that will allow this to happen because why? Because it happened to us. It happened to our people. It it caused us to be driven away from our home, away from our land, away from the place of our forefathers, and ultimately be driven to our final captivity destination. This is not our final destination. It's just our final captivity destination. Because in this captivity, after this captivity, this is it. We're done. We're going back to our land. The land that I didn't promise, Jacoba and Teyu didn't promise, Pastor Rick didn't promise, no one in our community promised, but the land that Yahuwah had promised, that he swore an oath on as part of his covenant with us. I, I pray we all are starting to understand that coming out of this captivity is not going to be easy. For all those that wanted to give that nice little, you know, honey, the honey words, the honey lips, the silver tongue, the sweet nothings of non-biblical prophetic edicts. I hope that you all are really paying attention, Yasharal. I'm hoping that you all are really paying attention, Yahuda, Yahudeen. I hope you all are really paying attention to all of these folks that have been able to sway you with a deep voice. I hope that you all are really paying attention. For all those that want to try to give you the nice words and everything else for what their benefit, because pay attention to this. Because those that are there here to sway you, to be comfortable and to say, oh no, nothing's gonna happen. Oh no, we're just all Israel's gonna be saved. It says a remnant. Do you want to know why? When I said a couple of weeks ago that these doctrines are dangerous, because there will be many of our people that will love to believe a lie even unto their own demise, their own deletion, their own death. See, Taya and Yakoba is right. They're absolutely right. They are a truth ministry. And when you are talking the truth, things won't be supported until you go through a disaster. Until you see a disaster. Oh, I guess they're telling the truth this whole time. Oh, I've seen it. I understand it. It's human nature. I get it. One of the saddest things that I witnessed when I was working over at CENTCOM, working over in a skiff. And a skiff just means secret compartmentalized infrastructure facility. I was able to witness when ISIS came through. Daesh or ISIS, whatever you call it, but we say ISIS. It was ISIL, you know. Them folks with the black flags coming. And what I was able to see was when you saw people as holdouts fleeing. Folks that saw the danger and understood the danger, they were out. They were already on the road. They had already packed up, you know, they had all their belongings, everything that they could grab, and they were putting it down the highway to Baghdad. Everyone else, when they saw that the city was being attacked and that folks were coming through, and you literally saw like a line of folks just coming through to envelop the city. Folks that were still trying to flee, all you would see is somebody just flopping. Bloop, flop. You just see the woman that was in the hijab and the black just flop. It looked just like a bed sheet that just crumpled over on a hot ground because that sun beats. And all I could do is just sit there and just feel sorry for them and just have pity. I would have pity because I know that there were family members, there were friends that was telling them, "Hey, let's get going. Let's get our relatives." Well, my such and such can't walk. All right, let's have a plan because I have a friend who's leaving and they could do it. Well, now it's going to be too much of a burden, too much of a bother, and don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. This will just blow over. Don't worry about it. We'll just blow over. Mosul fell in 2014, I believe. I don't think they really got like liberated until like 2017, 18 time frame. And the folks living there, they described that time as that was hell on earth. Just because of all of the evil and the wickedness that they had endured for those that had stayed. That is an extreme example. That is an extreme example. But I'm going to tell you, is that really that far off from what our ancestors had experienced and the places that they had to flee? What that looked like to me was it gave me an understanding of how the Spanish Inquisition had been all throughout Europe for our ancestors there that were caught up with the Moors. And when you understand the historical significance of Moors, people say, oh, Moors are Moors. And it's like, there's a breakdown on that. There's a breakdown. You had your Israelites in there. We're always in there mixed somewhere or another. We're Americans. Israelites are mixed in with Americans. What we do, we tend to isolate, especially when we know who we are. We isolate. That was at the time where now folks were being converted. Hey, we'll leave you alone, but no, now we got to get rid of you. We got to get rid of you and your identity. You may stay, but your identity goes. And anybody that's, 11 years old and older, they get what? They get destroyed. They get sent away. So this generation can grow up and not know who they are. Oleana Aquino. He was only able to barely hold on to his traditions that were Hebrew because the linkage to customs and culture, they want to have that destroyed. And they tried to destroy it, and they thought they did a great job of destroying it. They thought they did a great job of cutting off our legacy, our heritage, and for a time they did. They were able to do that for years, a couple hundred years to be exact. See, those edicts from the emperor, it still stands. All the Pope does is the Pope just still reinforces the Roman legacy in a theocratic model instead of the republic model. And now you're seeing that what's happening, nations are being torn over the incident. Yeah, I'll say that we feel for you. They'll say it openly. Hey, our thoughts and our prayers are with you in this time. They'll say it openly. But they're saying these folks are getting their payback. And even as I'm telling you this week, right now, today, there's still more wildfires happening and there's still more Santa Ana winds that's uh, strengthening even as we speak. And no, family, I'm not relishing in any of this destruction. And I wanted us to be very mindful to not relish in this destruction. Oh, you heathens are going to get it. You heathens, you heathens, you heathens. Well, you realize that a lot of our people are also heathen minded too. Maybe, just maybe that turns on, the empathy light just a little bit. Just a little bit. Because we don't know ourselves if we'll be caught up in this. There's none perfect. No, not one. There's none perfect. I have to always go through and ask the Most High Father, please help me. What am I doing wrong? Am I walking? Am I talking? Am I doing what needs to be done? Because let me tell you this, look, for all those that want to harbor hate, vengeance is Yahuwah. He will repay. Vengeance is Yahuwah. It's Yahuwah's, not ours. Yes. Do we dislike and abhor their behavior? Absolutely. But they all get a chance to repent. Every single one of them. Because you want to know why? Because we had the chance to repent. The Most High gave us a chance to repent. And there's still some of our own brothers and sisters, some of our own family members that will just say, I don't know. I don't really, I don't know. They give the excuses. Because here's the thing, the Most High had winked at the wickedness. He winked at it. He allowed it for a season. So what? So not our fullness, but their fullness can come through. And I don't think they really understand what that fullness means. The measure of their wickedness. They don't even understand what the fullness means because they don't want to read Jeremiah 50 and 51. They don't like to go into the Old Testament to understand what Revelations is truly stating regarding the fullness of the Gentiles. the fullness of their what? Wickedness. They're thinking, oh, fullness of that means, a salvation and everybody that was drawn to Christ and everything. Look, they want us to be in their philosophical ramblings because why? Because they don't want to reconcile what's happening to them as we speak. You saw that yesterday on Q2 Ways channel. It's easy to argue and debate over stupid stuff. Why are you sitting there arguing and debating while things are burning down? That's the foolishness that they have. So if they're doing that now, what do you think they're going to do when things get a lot worse? Not if, it's when. They want to suck you into that trap. Do you really think that it's the Most High's judgment? I don't know if it's the Most High's judgment. I think that, it's this and that, and it's that and this, and I don't necessarily believe that. And because why? Because they know that we're going to react to their stupidness, to their foolishness. Because why? Because that is the heart that many of our people carry, the heart to debate and the heart to defend. No. Yahuwah has actually won all of our battles. What we need to do is continue to walk and move in Him. I know it's a hard concept for a lot of our people. It is. I got to defend myself. I don't need to defend anything. You want to know why? Because do you see how destructive the Most High is with them fires? What do you think He could do with other folks if He wanted to? I look at these folks like, man, y'all have a grace that is so unmerited. It's not even funny. But that grace period is coming to an end. And we called it. We said it. Look, you're only going to have a little while. We saw this season coming before it came. We were praying for our people this year. On December 31st, we could see, look, everything that was going on, all of the divide and conquer techniques that were trying to happen within the community that started back literally in October, all of these things that was going on. Do you think that maybe, just maybe, the enemy knows what's getting ready to happen? I would argue yes. The enemy has some intel on their timeline. I would argue that the enemy knows when they're done, when their kingdom ends. They don't know when Yahusha comes back, but guess what? I guarantee you, they know the date, the time, the hour when this principality is over with. And if they know, do you think that they're going to tell us? Absolutely not. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to make our lives as miserable as we as can possibly be. Because why? Because shout out to Jacob if you hadn't seen this back on Friday. We contend Yahuwah is our help. Because why? Because we are always contending. We are always struggling. We are always persevering and pushing through this system that was designed to try to take us out in every single facet. The system wasn't here to be our friend. The system wasn't here to give us a hug when things go bad, to give us that moral support, to say, you know what, you can do it. The system was here to destroy the people of the mighty one of Jacob. And there are a lot of our folks that just say, you know what? I give up. I'm just gonna call uncle and conform to the system because the system is too hard. It's too overbearing. It's too overwhelming. And I know it's happening right now to a lot of our people. I get it. Listen, I understand when my chat numbers fell off, folks were going through a different season. I understood it. Oh man, people this he didn't hear any of that. Well, people this and people no. I pray for our people. I pray for our people because you want to know why? Because this thing is overwhelming. Man, spiritual accountability is hard, especially if you never had to be spiritually accountable. Let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. I mean, think about this. How many of our brothers and sisters right now have even ever had a spanking? How many of our brothers and sisters right now have even ever had any type of punishment from a mother, from a father, that have been told, no, you can't? Just because folks are awakened and they know that they're Israel, Yasharal, that's great. But let me tell you, this is what? A lawless generation. And we've been in a lawless generation. So what do you think is going to happen in this lawless generation? You think that you woke up and that you're perfect? Heck no. If anything, you needed to wake up and understand, man, I am lawless. And then what the Most High will do, he will correct you because why? Because he loves you. And when you have a parent that loves you, your parent corrects you, and that correction will feel like a spanking. It will. Father, you don't love me anymore because I'm going through this and I'm going through that. I'm going through and you have to say, wait a second, hold on. It's because he does love you. That we go through correction, that we go through discipline, because we haven't been disciplined via the church via philosophy. Philosophy doesn't discipline you. Debates don't discipline you. It's literally the Most High putting his arm on you and saying, hold on, wait a second. Now I got to do some things on you. And there's going to be some things that's done in you that the Most High will do that you will not like. And I get it. A lot of our people, I'm just a Hebrew and that's it. And I'm good. I'm good. That doesn't mean anything. Show me in the scriptures where you just being a Hebrew means that you're going to make it. Means that you're a remnant. Show me in that scripture. See, community support is to help our brothers and sisters on out. Because why? Because we're going to all go through being chastised. And that chastisement is going to hurt us in one form of fashion, but that hurt isn't a hurt. That hurt is a correction, but it feels like a hurt because every single time you get a spanking on that backside by that belt, by that stick, by that switch, guess what? It's a constant reminder. And now you get hit by that spiritual switch, you get spanked on that spiritual belt. Guess what? It's not to destroy you, it's to correct you. Corrections. Being corrected is not a bad thing. Going through and being disciplined is not a bad thing, especially when you have dealt with a people and a nation that is just lawless. And now understand these nations around the world, they're just itching to destroy this place. It's wicked. I can't have this happen because it's affecting my people. I can't have this going on because it's affecting my people. Do you think? I'm gonna bring this up right here. I want to bring this up. I want to bring this up. Give me just a second, family, because I want you to. I really want you to understand. Let me share this. This is what pops up. So I didn't say this. I didn't say this. This Angelo Guiliano said it. It's actually Giuliano, but Angelo Giuliano said this. And I'm going to read this. The German party AfD has declared that if it wins February elections, it will leave EU. If that happens, expect a Maidan revolution on steroids. Germany out of EU means the end of EU and the end of the three-letter agency project to destroy European nation states. And he puts on in here, let's see if Germany grows up a spine and regain dignity by becoming again a sovereign state. Yeah, what yeah, brother Asaph, right there. The UK is being destroyed economically. The pound is dropping like leaves in autumn. And yeah, and Brother Asaph concurs. It will be the end of the euro too. Yeah, the euro's done. The beast hates the what? The whore. But who's going to tell you this? Who's going to show you this? They're telling you everything is good. Everywhere's good, except for that pesky, Eastern Mediterranean nation. And even Trump is turning his back on that. Did you know that? In all of these wildfires, you weren't hearing that. Trump turning his back on the hand that feeds him, that fed him. You're telling me that scriptures are being fulfilled right now because what happens when the euro goes? Yep, Charles West, you said it. You read my mind. There you go, Brother Charles. Brother Charles West is in charge. Can you believe that this collapse is happening in front of our eyes? While California is literally on fire, the global financial system is literally on fire. Do you know what's actually happening in the UK? What is causing everything in the UK to go out of control? It's a collapse. The collapse is they're printing more money and they are paying more nations to take their money. They're paying more for people to use their money, causing their value of their currency to decrease. Yep. All right, brother Asaph, you gonna be next. Just go ahead and get that GoFundMe. I'll bring that on up. Hallelujah. And it's not funny. It's not. It's really not funny because the reality is that is how we will survive. It's to support one another. It's to work with one another. It's to move with one another. It's to flow with one another. Oh man, Jeremiah 15:51. This is how people think, oh, it's not going to happen. What's happening in Europe isn't going to happen to us. All right. So you say. All I know is when I tell you about Neo Diplomacy 101 and talk to you about neodiplomacy.com, your currency is your relationship. See, when I was showing you Zechariah chapter 11, folks weren't truly understanding that the relationship that the US has has been destroyed because of the fact that the haughtiness. That this nation has had, and people can see the haughtiness. And now this is coming to it's coming to a head. I want to show this because you are not going to see a lot of this stuff happening here in the West, even in, the X space. Let me go ahead and share this. Sorry, family. Right now, folks are concerned, and you're not seeing this in a lot of the news, but folks are very, very concerned with Israel's posturing. They're not going to show you this now, and and understand that's kind of how that's going right now. We're all going through a heavily censored state. So again, as I had stated this on this channel many a times, as I had stated that many a times, the closer you get to war, the worse the censoring will be. And you have that even going on in Burkina Faso. Why did it take us almost 2 weeks to realize that there was an assassination attempt on Traore literally on New Year's? Because why? Because we are getting, we will now have the information provided to us once it gets clear. Don't think that you have free information. You don't. You don't. So we understand his visit to Ghana, and maybe that's why he had to do a lot of different moves with Ghana that looks like to say that he wasn't coming and then for him to show up. Because lo and behold, he just survived another assassination attempt that took place on January 1st. We don't get that in print anymore. You're not getting that from any of these African news contents. And as much as they love to denigrate him, they love denigrating him. He's done more than any other Western puppet, the Western media hates him. And because the Western media hates him, this is what they can't stand. They can't stand this. The Western media hates Ibrahim Traore, but black folks don't. Don't you hate him? Don't you hate him? For what? Well, because. Because why? Well, see? See what? Well, just look. Look at what? Why? What's your problem with him? I just don't like him. Why do you not like him? Do you not like that he's bringing commerce and trade and infrastructure? That he's building hospitals, plants, food processing centers? Tell me what you don't like. That he's trying to revamp a nation that has been in economic decline. What's the problem? See, then when you say that, then, oh, well, you're a communist. You get labeled all that stuff. Wait a second. If I'm a communist, then wouldn't everything that I just said be more of a capitalist approach, especially if you're trying to have free markets to build up trade and commerce? So tell me how that works. And then when you call people on out of their definitions that they've created, and they can't even respond on their own definitions, it's just making them look stupid. It makes them look stupid because here's the thing. We in the past would go through and entertain that nonsense right away. Well, I don't like Traore too. Why? Well, because they said that they don't like Traore. So you know what? I'm going to stick with what they said because I don't like him either. Why don't you like him? Oh, because they don't like him. And yes, brother Charles, Black African success stories, because it's real simple. Why the West hates this? It's because if they are forced to admit it, do you know what that means? That then reinforces the claim that Africans are doing for self. And then as Africans are doing for self without being impeded economically, then that means that we have been able to do for ourselves and we have had the historical violence done to us to impede us economically that we can then refer to in countless instances and examples that they hate. So what that is a reminder to them that no matter how much they've tried to inflict pain, it has not worked. It has not worked. And that's an indictment. They have been able to economically beat everything that we've done. Nobody wants to hear that. They really don't want to hear that. Because why? Because they're supposed to have flies in their faces. sitting in the individual displaced, or excuse me, internally displaced refugee camps. They're supposed to lack security and not have a security apparatus that can actually defend its national interest. They're supposed to let all of these other nations that are non-African in origin be able to run up and steal as many resources as they can physically get their hands on. Look at what happened with the Congo and those that UN convoy that tipped over with all that gold. Tons of gold stolen. Do you realize that that's trillions of dollars of wealth that they just steal? Of course, you'd be rich if you're able to steal trillions of dollars of wealth. And now they're controlling their resources and they're saying, I need help from these other African nations to help me control resources, because when I can control my resources, and guess what? We all win. Oh my goodness. Are you telling me that the AU is actually acting like the EU and the EU is now actually acting like the AU of past times? Are you telling me that the curses are being reversed? That's what that tells me. The curses are being reversed. And as I just showed you, look, they don't want to play anymore. Yeah, I should have gone in a little bit more on the AFD party and in Germany and stuff like that. What they're actually saying, this is what they're saying. They're saying this. This is what they're saying. That they're telling the West that they're no longer wanting to be a victual of the West. See, that happened with us. And that happened with Africa. Okay, you know what? You treat Africans poorly, and so guess what? We can treat you poorly. Remember, I mean, we did liberate you from, you know, the Soviet Union. Let's remember that. So don't worry if you don't have gas. Don't worry if you're starving and you're cold during this really, really bad winter that we're having. This cold, this polar vortex that started literally at the beginning of this year. The ice age turned on at the beginning of the year. So if it's a bad winter, it's going to be a very bad summer. That's how that goes. And now, even though the U.S. does not want to admit to its involvement in Nord Stream, they all know about the U.S.'s involvement in Nord Stream. I told you that. You don't have to worry about them saying anything. It's not about what they'll say, because they'll never say it. They'll never admit it. Because why? Because then they'll say, well, what proof do you have? Because why? Because even if you bring truth and proof, then guess what they'll do? Then they discredit. They argue. What do? They philosophize. What is that? That is their religious structure. That's their religion. What is their religion? To hide, to divide, and to debate. You just didn't know that that was their religion. They were practicing their religion all this time, but we never knew. Because we would think, well, the moral of the story is, the argument is, but now in this walk, in our maturation process, okay, even if I say and I have all the proof in the world, it doesn't really matter because their religion will come back to say, I have to debate, I have to divide, I have to deflect. Because why? Because the religion is to lie, and they are liars, as the scriptures have said, because that is their practice in their debate and their culture. I would always say this: don't worry about what they say, because what they say is not going to be reality. You always look at what they do. What they do and what they say are totally different factors. What they say and what they do are totally different factors. So if you want to know what it is that they're planning, look at what they're doing, because they'll tell you what they're doing during their actions. But they'll tell you that their actions isn't what they're doing. Come on now. Hypocrisy, vain imagination, yes, Charles, doctrines of demons. Because why? Because they do lie. And that's why, look, I pray for them that they get out of their lies that they have inherited. That's the Jeremiah 16 and 19. Because why? Because every lie that they had was to what? To benefit them, so then they could have what they needed to have as a resource. They don't support the community. They don't realistically support themselves. Well, how come black folks aren't showing up to our marches on women's rights? Because now black women are understanding the lie of this system. And I'm thankful that the Most High is showing that each and every day, these same folks that had been paid to debate and deflect and to provide dissension in the community are being exposed. Wait, you want to talk about this, but your actions are that. And now the curses are literally on them because they don't even like each other. They don't even like each other. Their divorce rates are skyrocketing. And not only that, let's go back to the science, since they love the science. Man, they don't even want to tell you what their birth rates are. They don't. What does the word say? You'll know them by their what? Their fruits. And in this case, you know them by their what? Their lack of fruit. Because they are not being fruitful and multiplying like that. Would you have ever thought, would you have ever considered that 20 years ago that they are destroying themselves by their own actions? Oh yeah, the birth rates, those are our fault. Don't debate it, don't deflect it. No fault is found in Judah on that one. Well, if your men just wants to accept more of our women, yeah, no, nope. That trend line is not like it was in the 90s and early 2000s. No, I'm sorry. They're having a tough time. They're having a difficult time. And you knew this was coming when they got rid of Toys R Us and Babies R Us a few years ago. You knew this was coming. The bad news is here. They're nowhere near replacement rates. They're like, I think last count, it was like 1.3. It was horrible. I see the stories where the men don't like the women and the women don't like the men, and the women are trying to date the men, and the men are just like, forget it, because this system, this society has caused it that I'm always going to be in the wrong. So why? Why? And the snake is really eating its tail. The snake is eating its tail. And yeah, America is in trouble. I don't care what you say. There's not going to be any fault found in Judah. It's not, no, it's not us. We were trying to tell you. We were trying to explain that to you. But because we were explaining that to him, oh, we hate. Paul said it. Look, do you hate me because I tell you the truth? Do you hate me because I tell you the truth? And that's the absolute reality. Yeah, they hate us because we are telling them the truth. But here's the thing: it's the truth that sets them free, just as the truth has set us free. And then when you have the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, because why? Because you're covered under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach, because Yahuwah and Yahusha are one and the same in my book. One and the same. You can't get to the Father except but through the Son. That's how we make our petitions. Because why? Because we are not holy enough to do it. He is a sacrificial lamb. He is a sweet smelling aroma. That is how our favor is derived. My favor is not derived on my own. It is not. It's through Yahusha HaMashiach. That's my matter on that, as folks will be asking that question that always usually tends to happen these times, this time of year. Why does that happen? Because judgment is in the land, and there has to be distraction points. It just has to. There has to be something we got to contend. We're going to be contending until we're literally leaving. And I wouldn't be surprised if people are going to be contending with one another to be getting on the first thing smoking up on out of there. And I shouldn't say first thing smoking because, California. I know. Sorry for that anecdotal hot spot. I mean, miscue. Oh my goodness. We're here in a time, and I wanted to get to this article. There's a lot of meat that gets covered. You see what happens when I'm down for Fridays and Monday. I'm at a real big uh, disadvantage with all this stuff happening in the world. That's why I have to do these 2-3 hour lives. If you're just getting on in here, I have pinned to the chat, Sister Cassandra. I have fellowshipped with her in different ministry groups, such as Building Bridges. Um, our sister, her family had been affected by the California wildfires. I showed earlier in this live stream photos of her property and of her neighborhood that's there in Altadena. And I have that GoFundMe. I have her GoFundMe link posted or pinned to the chat. So that was this morning, but I said I was going to move on to some contemporary issues that's happening here around the world, and we're seeing that happening here around the world right now. It's going on right now. One of those is that this is November 7th. This is a tweet from World Affairs on X. President of Egypt says that Eastern Mediterranean nation can no more delete innocent people in Gaza. Otherwise, there will be joint response of the Muslim world against Israel. And I wanted to give you some other news because there has been some other articles here recently that there are military exercises and other things that have been occurring over in Egypt and potentially Turkey, because to me it looks as though Syria was the setup of that linkage. And I had said that here on this channel. I said that here. I am going to take credit for that in my former life intel hat, that don't think it's over yet. Don't think that, what Syria has going on was just whatever it is. Yep, thank you. Yeah, Renee, I said that. I said you're not going to see it immediately. They're not going to tell you it right away. But now, in over 2 months here, right? In over 2 months. Come on now. Now you see it. Because you got to remember they have to work through subterfuge. They can't say, "Oh, well, we're going to combine together and go after them." No, they cannot do that. No, they cannot do that. So now, guess who has to now play their cards right? Saudi Arabia and Jordan. Don't think MBS and MBZ, Mohammed bin Salman, and you know, and all them folks over there in Saudi Arabia don't know. Don't think that King Abdullah the second of Jordan doesn't know. Oh, they know. I would say that in order for everything to kind of look good, they would then try to bring this type of strategy. Oh, well, we're here. We're doing this. Sister Rebel. Sister Rebel in the UK
Good morning to everybody, or grand rising, or whatever. Shalom to everyone. Oh my gosh, I feel like I've got thumper in my head right now. Oh, it has been freezing. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this weekend just gone. It was like, how is it as cold as it was, but we still saw no snow? I don't get that. And then people say, the stupidest thing I've ever heard, even as a kid, like it's too cold for snow. I'm like, what? That is not the Arctic Circle and Antarctic Circle, Antarctica, colder than everywhere else. You got one of the coldest places in Russia, and it snows there. And when people say, "Oh, it's too cold for snow," it has to be the right temperature for snow. I'm like, right temperature? What's that? But at least if everybody was snowed in, nobody would go anywhere. In this country, we don't do snow very well. But it's been really cold. Oh, gosh. And Renee, I remember you saying that as well, Brother Karras. Yeah, I do remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You was talking about the curses being on these people, right?
Yes, I was. So what do you see now happening? Europe is now being fractured with Germany.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy that we're seeing this.
It's crazy, but it's to be expected. I mean, anytime I see anything, I just say, boy, some curses. All these curses that were on us that will be on you. And I found it fascinating with what you were saying about them being at odds with each other, male, female, the young and the old, all of that. It's even down, they have their own version of colorism, but it's not quite colorism in that sense. It's who is who claims to be European and who claims to be quote unquote American. It's actually quite funny just watching them at odds with each other. And every time I hear them or see them or hear them mumbling and I'm not even gonna lie. You all can boo me if you want. I'm quite happy with that. I don't mind. But my heart went out to this yes, you are a prophet.
Well, yeah. Oh, I'm bringing it back to the evangelical swing of things. Didn't call me a prophet.
I still haven't forgotten my $50 cloth.
I see somebody with $1,500. 1,500. I see them all getting ready to do that on the Cash App or the Zelle. Yeah. I'm just
Lord of mercy.
Sorry, family. I'm trying now out to be the Hebrew brother on TBN.
Oh gosh. I'm not even
Hebrew
gonna lie,
hour
man.
on TBN.
I think I might need to turn my volume down a little bit because that was loud. my head's still hurting. Yeah, but I saw this.
You know, we're Hebrews too, just like the Hebrews in that so-called land. I can't tell you how they're Hebrews, but I believe for about $25,000 I can say something. Oh yeah. Wait a second. The Most High's tuning in. Wait. I only answer after the third ring from the Most High cell phone call. Third ring. There it is. Hello, Father.
Third ring. It's got to be the Trinity in it. Like, yeah.
Yah in three persons, blessed Trinity. Father. Okay. Hallelujah.
Ring one. It's the Father. Ring twice. It's the Son. Ring three times. It's the Holy Ghost.
Yep,
yeah,
right.
You gotta have them 3 rings. The 3 bells.
Yeah, my Ruach mobile carrier service is T-Mobile because that stands for the Most High Mobile. Hallelujah. And I
Oh
get
my
that
gosh.
service everywhere around the world.
I need some ibuprofen, man. I'm telling you.
Brother Garth, can you come to the altar and get these collection plates? We'll have a benediction.
Tell the congregation we want the ones that fall, not jingle.
Sister Chantel, go ahead with the choir selection. Lay your burdens down.
Oh, good grief.
Listen, TBN, I'm here if you want. Just let me know. There's some stipulations that we'll have to put in the contract.
Hey, listen, don't make me laugh too much, man. This cold weather's got my lips chapped. And every time I smile or I bust a little laugh, that chap just starts to just split and say hello. And it's too painful. And it doesn't matter how much chapstick or Vaseline or anything else. Man, I could rub my lips on the pan and it won't do anything. Like, I'm telling you, this cold weather has got my hands hard. It's got everything hard. I have to literally put so much grease on everything.
Well,
it's hard.
Sister Chantel, luckily I got this anointing oil. Brother Karras called me to the altar. You know what the Holy Spirit told me? It told me, wait. The Holy Spirit told me that people need to work on their fitness, and they should subscribe to Faith and Fitness by Garth.
Do you want to slap a little bit of that anointing oil on my lip, please, if you don't mind?
Oh, let me.
I can't laugh. I can't. It hurts.
The Holy Spirit told me to all you to subscribe to Faith and Fitness by Garth. Hold on. I got an image. Wait.
So Brother Garth, you going down the aisles. You going down the aisles with the pew, and as you're passing the silver offering plate, you also passing out your card.
Oh,
with
yes,
the white gloves.
Karras.
You're getting the white gloves on now. Passing out the card. Give that to sister right there. Get that to her brother right there.
Sorry, can I just say something? Can I just say something to J0? J0, I'm so sorry, love, but we don't have Crisco over here. We got Batoli extra virgin olive oil. I'm sorry, love. I don't know what Crisco is. I've heard it's something greasy, but I'm not really. Yeah, we don't have that. Sorry, love. We don't have that.
The Holy Spirit is telling me not only do we need a spiritual workout, we need a physical workout. So please subscribe to Faith and Fitness by Garth. And with that, I will leave the congregation to Brother Karras.
All right, thank you. He will be back at the close of service. For those that have not dropped off a love offering, a tithe
Love
offering,
offering.
Donation, a
I can't.
donation offering.
I will be here preaching until the treasurer of the church gives me that thumbs up that we done met the collections.
A donation. A donation. Not a donation, a donation.
The reason I laugh about that is because my grandmother was the treasurer of Bethel AME Church in Glassboro, New Jersey. Bethel AME Church. And when I would go to church with her every Sunday, that's how that was. She would, the collection would go, but it would actually go. The tithes and offerings actually went before the preaching, and then he would be over in the little treasurer's area, doing the annotation of the books real quick as the preaching was going on, and and the minister on the pulpit would do that for real. He would do that. He would be looking, and my grandma would give a nod. And at about 9-10 years old, you really think about much like that. But we always had to stay late. After the church was closed and folks were leaving, we would stay that 30, 45 minutes. For a kid, that was a long time, because generally after church, we get out of our church clothes and then we bust out and break out and play with our friends that had already been home, an hour or two after church, from their church. So that was that time that we were not able to have, for playing, especially on the weekend. And especially when you're living in New Jersey during the spring and summertime, it's like you got to get everything that you can get in those times, because that come fall and winter, you're not really playing like that because of all the snow and things on the ground. So as much as I joke about that, that I'm really reminiscing from my childhood in terms of the AME and the Eurocentric, side of the house on that one. But in all seriousness, I want to bring this conversation back, because I have here Sister New Being me, Sister Emmanuel.
Hi, family. Hi,
yeah.
family. No, it's sometimes, laughter is good for the bones, right? Like Grandpa Solomon said, right? You got to laugh sometimes just so that you don't hurt. But I wanted to tell Sister Chantal, olive oil, right? Ain't that in the scriptures? Yeah. Olive oil, Baba. Sister, get yourself a bottle of olive oil and just start.
I do have. I keep meaning to put it on. I've got like what's it? Cold press olive oil.
Yes,
so.
Mom. That's in this winter time. That's it's been in the scriptures. Anoint thy hands. You know what I'm saying? Anoint it, because that petrol, that grease, and everything else. We make shea butter ourselves, but olive oil is very, very essential with the shea butter. It's like the Most High knows. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I gotta say to you. Get some good shea butter and get yourself some olive oil, and in between those, just like rocket, just because this cold is so, Karis, thank you so much. And family, y'all know I come back forth. Yeah, I had to figure out how to get on, because Karis,
Now behave, because I'm not trying to be all ignorant right here.
I ain't being ignorant. But I said thank you for everything.
Do I have to put you both on timeout? Seriously?
Well, we know how
I'll take over this show,
We're like twins. We have the same birthday month, really a couple days apart, Karis and I. So, but I want to thank you and everybody here, especially Sister Cassandra. We're praying for you. And we know how it is. I always thank you guys for, what you've had me call during several fire, quote unquote, seasons. You feel me? And if that is not the ultimate get on your knees and, you know what I mean? And just give thanks, just to the Most High moments, it is devastating. It's scary. It is so, you will never get used to that feeling, running from fire.
Well, let me ask you this, Sister New Being Me, because as I had because that was part of an email. This is the email I got from Sister Cassandra, because I wanted to make sure that I got all the details, and we have to treat our family that's going through this with the proper respect and dignity, because I'm going to tell you this in my heart of hearts. I sympathize with this, because I understand that close call with that the hurricane, with the hurricane.
Yep.
And flooding. You see what I'm saying? Hurricane and flooding. At least with the hurricane and flooding, I could actually, I'll swim out of that sucker. I'll bullet, I'll not bullet, I'll waterproof, a couple things, and make a little makeshift raft and get about. Right. So I've had the training for that to survive
all black
in that.
People should know how to swim, and I don't know how to swim that well. I barely know how to wade in water.
As long as you do a backstroke, you gonna be all right. Just do the backstroke. Just
every black person knows how to backstroke.
Keep them lungs good. Keep them lungs good, and just pray that you don't run into no gators or snakes. And matter of fact, the gators are actually they will run from you. They actually will leave from you.
Really?
Yes,
Why?
They will. Because you are different to them. You are different to them. Yes.
Yeah.
Read into that as much as you want. You are different to them. Them other folks are not. They be having some interesting altercations. Their altercations are different.
Well, here's the truth of the matter, and I really do believe. I remember hearing a story in South Africa how the animals run from these people when they hear their voice. They understand. They could be speaking in, it might not even be English, or it could be whatever language. It's almost like they understand the tone, the frequency of these people's voices, so they run from them. And if you understand, which I know you guys do, your history, what they've been doing to these creatures and what they've been doing to our children with these creatures. And it's almost like nature is turning. It's like the Most High is reestablishing things. And that's one of the things that I was trying to say earlier when I was talking about the curses being back on them, or not back on them, but on them. It's like, even like I was watching a video where I saw this Gentile woman who was talking about her house and how she's struggling. And her house, like she's saying that how she's suffering from mold and damp in her house. And you can see the situation of her house. And I'm like, all I thought about was in the scripture where it talks about how we would be afflicted by mold and certain things. Yeah. And I just thought, wow. Then when I saw another video that's talking about how their men ain't even interested in them. Like
I was just talking about that earlier.
I heard that. And not that I'm thinking, but it's like their interest seems to be elsewhere. And I keep thinking about, and I'm not encouraging this at all, because I'm just not, but I keep thinking about what it says about 10 of them grabbing themselves a skirt of a Hebrew. And I know it's not talking about just the females. I know it's talking about us in general, but it's almost like it's funny because it's almost like they did this to themselves, really and truly. They put their women on a pedestal so high up that now there's this issue that they've created. The problems that we had as a community, as a nation, between the male and the female dynamics with us, it was artificially done. It was done because of them.
Yes.
What they've done, they did this to themselves. This was done to us by them. They've done this to themselves. Their men put them up on a pedestal and made out like they are the standard of beauty and broadcasted their face. Have you ever watched, it's an anime called Blue Eye, oh gosh.
It's like Blue Eye Swordsman or something.
Yeah, Blue Eye Samurai. Have you watched that?
Yeah. It was there is I haven't gone through it yet.
You need to. It's really good. It is really good. But there's a scene in there where the European, this ugly looking beast like creature, Turner said to the man, he said, "We're going to flood your country," because we know from past accounts, whenever all these nations, Asians, in whichever country they're in, the Asians, the Australians, and I'm talking about proper Australians, the Americans, and we're talking about the proper Americans, and the Africans, when they came in contact with them, do you know, systematically in every one of their accounts, do you know what they said that hit them first? Before they saw them, they said they smelt them. They said they found them so appalling. That was how they felt about these people. Fast forward to this, to now, what this man Turner said in the character, he turned around and said to the Japanese, who they were constantly cussing this man and everything, and they had to keep him out of sight because, as you know, obviously, yeah, it's good, J0. As you know, back then the borders of Japan was closed off. They didn't want to have nothing to do with the world, especially the Western world, and for certain other reasons. But he was kept hidden. And one of the things he turned around and said, he said, one day we will flood your little country with so much everything Western. We will flood it. I'm paraphrasing, but he said, we will flood your country, your little country, with our merchandise, with everything that is to do with us, to the point where you will love us, to the point where you will want to be us. You will want to aspire to look like us. And I'm like, huh. But now it's like I'm not saying everyone, because obviously you will still have a lot of them, but everywhere, not just the Asians, but even Africans, even us, who still want to cling to their ideology. But a lot of people are now starting to wake up and are like, you know what, I'm going to be about myself. And I'm not talking about the political structures. I'm talking about the people, the actual people, because that's what really matters. Because at the end of the day, all that it takes is for a few people to rebel against the republic, rise up and move out whichever government that they need to do, need to remove, right? But the people are starting to get back to, you know what, this is what we need to be about. We need to be about us. And we need to start looking into our culture and into who we were before these people came and polluted us with their way of thinking, because it's not working for us. So I just find it fascinating how they're now starting to realize that the men, these Gentile men, they're not even interested in their own women anymore.
And you know what, may I just say something in terms of that? Like, that's why I typed in earlier, the Mento and the Me Too movement. They're like synonymous. It's them turning against each other.
Yes.
It's almost like, okay, like the work that I do, it's with this how do I say it? We do a lot of community work and talking to light-skinned people and their economic structures of how it be. But the women, and I thank the Most High that the thank you Most High that truth is coming out. But the women have been complicit the whole time.
Of course.
And people are finding out it wasn't the pedestal that you actually say that they were put on. If all of us can conceptualize, understand that that's also a how to say it, prostitution pedestal. You feel me? There was different structures. What they did to us as African women and indigenous women, how they just abused us for free, right? And then they put their women on a certain economic scale. And even those women have been complicit in that, trying to have the right makeup, trying to have the right body, trying to have the, whether you're talking about present day or 300-400 years back, even their bodices, even their clothing was made to look like women of color.
Us. Yes.
Everything. They've been manufactured escorts, manufactured wives, manufactured sperm receptacles, manufactured baby products. Anyways,
to cut you, I don't want to just to think just quickly. Did you see the video with regarding oh gosh, what's her name? Megan Thee Stallion and I've forgotten his name. But with the 3 white girls who were like, oh, I don't know. I mean, is she even his type? Because there was this white girl who had been dating this black guy who has been dating a lot of white girls, but now he was pictured with Megan Thee Stallion. And you can always tell they're bitter. They're starting to become bitter about it. It matters to them when our men are like, yeah, we're done with you.
Yeah, the fawning is not there, and that is doing a certain sort of thing to them.
A witchcraft, that's why they are like, oh well, they try to attempt to maintain the standards by what they say goes. No, that veil, that thing has been ripped. It's falling apart. And like you said, it's almost like one of our Rebbe said, the earth is the forensic evidence against these people. Right now, the Men Toe and the Me Too are like in 2 different rooms, and they're speaking to the Most High or the DA, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And they like turning in on each other. They're like turning state evidence.
It just hit me.
Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
No, sorry. I know. I'm really sorry, but it just hit me just now. Why somebody said the standard of beauty? I said it earlier. They put them as the standard of beauty, and it just hit me just now why they're so frustrated with the fact that black men are starting to be like, yeah, we've had enough of you, or you know what, we're not going to like even if. What's that?
Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that?
In like the witchcraft, they can see through it. Remember?
No, what it is because where we go, the rest of the world goes. Remember, they're the ones that are held up as the standard of beauty, and they're not. It's like they understand that if our people are trendsetters, if our men are literally dropping them, what do you think the rest of the male population in this world is going to do?
Well, let me tell you this. If you are a plastic surgeon, I guess right now, I guess your business is going to be picking up, right? Okay. Because
can you give me that dark skin injection, please?
Exactly. And don't forget the melanin tablets to make
melanin tablets. The BBL.
We'll call it Mel Drops. I need me a bottle of Mel Drops, please, because I got that pasty look.
It's like they got to take the tablets like once every 4 hours, or they'll start looking like cheetah leopards, leopard print.
And remember, and again, in reverse psychology, like Kara said in the beginning, it's not what they say, it's what they do, right? So let's imagine what happened, like, 400, 500 years ago. So they got out of the Black Plague. They barely made it out of like European, and then when they went and traveled, they're seeing the whole world is of color. People of color.
I gotta bring it back to this. I'm sorry.
Healthy looking too.
I'm literally taking this thing out of context here.
We have gone way out of context.
Yeah, we
have. It's in the Bible. It's in the Esdras. You know what I'm saying? It's leprosy gone wild. You know what I'm saying? It's leprosy gone wild.
Let me ask you this. Because there was a Swedish model that did this.
Yeah, Sweden.
And she had blackfished. Do y'all remember that? She blackfished.
Oh yes.
And it was like the way she did it. It was like wow.
That's what the mask and everything.
No, with her.
No, it's the one.
Her makeup and the
she looked. She looked like, at the very least, she just looked mixed.
Yeah. Yeah, she looked. Yeah, it was a mix. It was. Yeah, she looked mixed. So
that's what they want, though.
And then
she had blackfish.
And then that's why we have to also wonder when we see these crazy things happening, these weird things happening, the tea things happening, and we don't think somebody has a makeup on them, and pretending to be us. Like one of the things that baffled me when I first came to America, to New York to school, the story of like the Boston Tea Party and the people dressing up as Native Americans. I looked at my third grade class like, is this something wrong here? And everybody was just like, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. I'm like, y'all don't see this? Like, they dressed up like what? I mean, I was a child and I knew that thing was kind of...
We now call that, what's that called? Transracialism. But the first transracialism was done to who? Us. If they did this to us, of course, everything else is like nothing.
When did they officially do it? When did they actually do it and have it on the books? Okay. Well, oh yeah, no, they've been coming out. They've been coming on out, and platforms and channels have been showing the books that they show that they were doing it and how they did it, because
are so real right now. Have you guys seen the mask in the hands? The mask in the hands. That's been around for like almost 10 years. It's getting more and more real.
Sorry, I just want to read what Melody Thomas says. She says, I saw some videos with these Gentile girls using makeup to look like us, threatening to take our men from us. And I find that fascinating. I wouldn't put it past, but I find it fascinating. It's like, of all people, you don't go up. Why are you not trying to go after Asian guys? Why are you not trying to go after Indian guys? Why are you not going after the Koreans, why the Japanese, the Indians, the Hispanics? Why?
In the book, they did that. The fallen angels taught them this. This is
no. It's not even about the makeup. It's like it's to go after a specific type of people, and you have to ask yourself why. See, if they need to, we already know why. They need to ask, why are you doing this? What's your angle? What's your game here? What are you trying? Why are you trying to do this? Why are you breaking yourself? Why are you flooding your face with all that crap on it to look like us? Why are you puncturing your lips? And I've seen some of them, Lord of mercy, their lips look like two sausages smacked together. Like I beg you, don't get into a fight with one of our sisters, because that's the first place she's clapping. I'm telling you, if it was me, I'll be taking off one of my heels. I will be taking off one of my heels.
And then they have their lips, like unnaturally, unrealistically, just it's the form, right? You now have
Karis, that's what you're not even. That's the wickedest thing is that they're not actually. What I'm telling you, the Most High's hand is on this, because I've been watching these videos here. Do you know what it is? Is that it'll be working, it'll be fine, and it looks okay. And for some of us, we will never know. We just think, oh, she's got really nice lips, whatever. It just looks natural. What happens after a while is that it just ends up one day, all of a sudden, your lips just blow up. It just pops up. And it's like, well, I didn't get it done. What's happening? Because the Most High is like,
not today.
Don't mock me. I created this. Don't mock me. Your great grandpappies already mocked me by messing with DNA, and then you continue doing it. Here's the thing. When you start doing this stuff, it's a mockery and it's an affront to the Most High, because you're messing with his handiwork. That's like saying what you did ain't good enough. Come on now.
Boy. Yeah, and wow.
One thing, here's the thing. It'd be one thing if you were with the children of Israel and you humbled yourself, like the scripture says, you relinquish who you are, and you're like, okay, I'm in all the way in. I'm raising Israel children, because we got a lot of multi-ethnic children here, multi-ethnic African diasporic. However, their mothers are not raising them that way. They are being, anyway, I'm just saying, it's one thing to say, okay, I will like the matriarchs, like Naomi, is it Ruth? And one of the matriarchs, like, okay, I will be an Israelite, but it's a whole nother thing to deceive, to take our children, take our men, to take our women away. You hear what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That's where it gets iffy. That's where, not iffy, that's where it gets just that is a plan of erasing.
So what are we doing? What is this really about? We are literally seeing what it says in Revelation, how it talks about how I think it's Revelation 2, the was it the sin of Balaam? What was the sin of Balaam? To get Israel to curse themselves. How did he get Israel to curse themselves? When they were literally on the precipice of passing over the Jordan, what happened? The king of Moab brought his women into the camp to do what? To tempt the men. Exactly. And as a result, a massive amount of people died from an illness, a disease. I don't know, you could call it sexually transmitted disease.
And what was the thing? Moab is still the descendant of Lot, his children, and that incestuousness and just the depravity coming straight out of Sodom and Gomorrah. You understand what I'm saying? It's like these influences. Remember, his children, his daughters were influenced by Sodom and Gomorrah. So it was nothing to them to take advantage of their father. That's disgusting. Do you understand? You want to talk about the mental, psychological, the disabilities, the physical disabilities. So they're coming straight out of Moab, from that spiritual demonic energy on that. And we're not going to even talk about the messed up genetics with that coming down. And again, and this is what is happening, because the thing about people do not want to talk about, the Western world, the northern population, whatever you want to call them, incest is a big thing for them. That's like, oh, that's just what they do.
Well, what is that? Hemophiliacs, right? Not being able to clot blood. That was that's in part of the royal legacy, royal lineage for a lot of the royals there in
that's why they needed Meghan. Remember the madness of King George, man. What was the madness? They all start going completely bonkers because of all that inbreeding. And then they had that droplet. They lose their mind. They get that droplet, that weird looking, especially with the Spanish royalty back in the day. Oh my gosh, talk about hurt. Woo, their faces were so messed up. There's one other thing I wanted to quickly say. It's almost like the Most High is just downloading it into my head. But it's like he put it in my mind. So one of the curse that afflicted our sisters, right, about certain orifices, I'm not going to go into, whatever. But as a result, there was a less than pleasant aroma, let's say. That was one of the curse. Like I said, these people have done it to themselves. A lot of their curses, a lot of what's going to happen to them is tailor-made for them. One of the things coming out of this, and literally coming out of this, is now that these people that have had these BBLs, and a lot of them have done it. So is our people, and I just don't understand. I'm like, why are you doing this? Because there's a few of these people who can afford to get it taken out properly or safely. You're going to copy that. You're dumb. You've already got what your mum gave you, your grandma, and so on and so forth. That's African. You can't get rid of that. Mine follows behind me. It's like a tray. So I don't know why you're adding to it. But these women now are finding there's a funk coming from them. They stink. There is a smell like a oil being secreted from their rear end, and it's letting out a smell. It's like you smell like a skunk.
Yeah, it's an anal gland. Yeah, it's an anal gland, and that is what they're messing with. You know, and that's actually, animals have that too. You know, animals have that. It's actually, believe it or not, you know, like when people are in an extreme environment and things of that nature, and they poop themselves, all right, or they smell, and it's like, man, it smells like you farted or something. It is actually, believe it or not, it is a defense mechanism. And you know, and
am I on still? Oh, shame. Sorry.
Yeah, so you can. I mean,
I shouldn't laugh. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can laugh, but it is what it is, and you have that. I remember I was taking one of my dogs to the vet last week, and she did the same thing, because with her breed, you know, very very wiry, and you know, kind of distressful. So when she had her checkup, was in fear, and then she stunk up the place, you know. So um yeah, I do not doubt it. You know, this is why, look, we are a perfected creation. We are a perfect creature, because why? Because that's the way the Most High made it, right? That's the way the Most High made us, and He made all, you know, of these living creatures. Now, when we try to, you know, mess them up with different things, well, they get messed up because of you know, these genetic mutations, and you see that even with food, right? The way that they have pigs, the way that they have turkeys, even the chickens, you know, a lot of that, it is not natural. Those aren't natural. As I was even stating the other day with sheep, you know, you don't have really a lot of white haired sheep. That is not actually um a natural occurrence when you're talking about sheep. Matter of fact, that is a genetic byproduct of different things, because technically speaking, when you see
Sheep ain't white.
they're actually dark. Their wool is actually darker. Like, you know how you have the Tensicadar, things of that nature. No,
No, I know about the black sheep.
yeah, you'll
And
have.
it makes
Yeah,
you wonder why they demonize black sheep, like Baba black sheep.
well, because what ends up happening is that technically speaking, even when you have that with dogs, you know, when you see those dogs that are like completely white or whited out dogs, that is actually a product of uh, of inbreeding. And when you go to a breeder, and the breeder has, you know, white dogs in it, that's a product of inbreeding. And
Dalmatians are products of inbreeding as well, aren't they?
well, yes, yeah, yes, they are. Yes, they are. So those are kind of those specialized inbreedings. But I when I saw that, because you know, like, people have like white German shepherds, and they're like, oh, it's cool, it's white. Well, technically speaking, um, they'll have different health issues, right? Part of their health issues is that they're going to have premature deaths. They're not going to have a long lifespan. They'll have different other, you know, factors of like hearing loss, and yeah, the black German Shepherd is the actual true color. So the closer that they are to black, Lion Pride, you're absolutely right. The closer that they are to black is the closer that they are to their actual natural color.
Did you know also that like in regards to bears as well, that the darker they are, the more the more tame they are, the more gentle they are. The lighter and the whiter, like the polar bears, they become more and more aggressive.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the
interesting, isn't it?
And that is really a natural occurrence of different things. And for the most part, a lot of different genetic mutations. Obviously, genetic tampering. I don't ever like to say genetic mutations once you actually understand how genetic tampering has been, and they'll tamper with just
from the beginning. It wasn't a mutation. It becomes a mutation after the tampering.
After the tampering, exactly. So and these are the sciences. So technically speaking, all the sciences that they create is actually pseudoscience. They've just had it as an accepted science, but in reality, it is an actual pseudoscience. So it is a false science, to a lot of what's been going on, and that will go into that whole, angelic approach, demonology, whatever.
Have you got a smile on your face? I can always tell when you're smiling. You're not smiling, but okay, go on.
I'm actually trying to run away from this topic because I really do hate focusing on genetics. I really do. I hate focusing on genetics.
I know. That's why I said you're smiling. It's not a smile because you're happy. It's a smile of, can we move now, please?
Yeah.
And we took over your show. I'm sorry.
Because the reality is that everybody here has genetics that have been tampered with. Every single
Yes, we have.
So
we have.
So when people say, "Oh, well, you're just accusing white people," like, well, hold on. We genetically speaking, 65% of African Americans here in the United States, has a white father in their patriclan line.
A hook, black crook, whatever.
65%.
It is what it is.
I don't know what the percentage is of those of us that came out of Caribbean, but I can certainly tell you
it's probably just as high too, because
what we look like. A lot of, like, for example, and this as well, our mixed race children look completely different from your mixed race children. That is, I don't understand why. Maybe it's just the weather, but we tend to be a little bit more lighter over here than.
And you all are lighter, yeah, and you all are lighter, and I do believe that in that admixture, I believe that it is more weather, but I also believe,
diet too. Sometimes
I also believe this. I also believe that there is actually a different genetic line that was brought over here to the United States, and I'd say that the genetic line was more so a Roman line, a quote unquote Roman Greco line. You all have more of a Danish line, a Viking Danish line.
Are you talking about the whites over here?
Yes, there's more of a Danish line, and then there's more of a Nordic. I would say that's probably the more.
And can I say something?
You're talking about the Germanic line.
Yeah, you have a Germanic,
the Anglo-Saxon line.
Yeah, and so Anglo-Saxon is different. So you have an Anglo-Saxon, and then you'll also have a more of a Mediterranean line in terms of a Greek, Roman, that Southern Europe type of line. And when you look at the history of Europe, and not just the history of Europe, but when you actually look at the history of England is very interesting because England was really a clash of European society when you had, your literal Roman Greco influence, up to the time of Hadrian, and then you also had your Danish Nordic influence when it came to, those northern Japhetic tribes, and they actually kind of clashed and merged there in the UK, especially there, in those London areas.
Londonderry. This country was highly sought after because of the weather. Would you believe? But it was neither hot nor cold. It was perfect for yeah, and it was very green. That's why it's that song, England's green and pleasant lands. What's it? The song that where they sing where they call England Jerusalem. That's why you guys need to know when you understand what's it, British Israelism or whatever they want to call it. That's what this song is like. That's why when you understand Christianity and stuff like that, you think one of the things that you think of is the way these people view the Bible. You would think that Jerusalem was in this country, and then when you hear certain songs that would say, till we have built Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land. That's how they see it. That's their song. And when they sing Onward Christian Soldiers, that's how they see it. This is their Jerusalem. And then they decided, oh, no, we're going to use that place as Jerusalem. So it's like they constantly keep shifting. And then that place is Jerusalem, which again is another fallacy. So,
well, remember how many
use this.
How many cities, have been literally Alexandria, or Alexandria, or Alexander's,
It kind of reminds me, I think the
Exactly.
British were of what they say blue blood of African descent. I think that's what they kind of remember, but it's been so separated so far. And then the whole of xenophobia, because the thing in that island, they have maintained this is what we're staying, this Anglo-Saxon white, even though perhaps the ancestry goes back to Africa, light skin, and maybe Aboriginal,
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
Aboriginal light-skinned Africans. You feel
Are
me?
you talking about
British.
the Brits?
Yes.
Well, the British are actually
a blue blood thing.
Yeah,
they'll remember that, but then they stop.
That's actually Basque. So there's Basque region that's over and Andorra, Andalusia, Portugal, Spain,
and France.
They remembering those. They remember that, and then they want to stop there. Now, here's a theory too with the United States, okay? Or the new world. In the new world, again, we're talking about human trafficking, which is like, everybody was just going crazy. It was the Walmart on the sea. So in the new world, in the Caribbean, people had the opportunity to just the European men use their opportunity to impregnate all kind of people. And so that spread. And even in America, here in the States, remember after slavery was abolished.
Huh?
You cut out. Sister New being me, you cut out.
The powers that be do.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry. That was me. That was the power of my not plugging in. But yeah, remember here in America, we had our own, or they had their own homegrown slavery, right? Mm-hmm. So the mixing was forced. And that's why people in America are, very beautiful, very good looking compared to their English cousin counterpart, because of the miscegenation or the mixing or the
I would, and honestly, I would concur with
forced or not.
Yeah, with Sister Newbie and me, I would actually concur with that, because understand, this is something that has gone on, especially in the South, and when you understand how things happen in the South, there would be children that would then be deemed passing or acceptable, and they would then be favored as white. That's what would happen. So then they would figure out down the line, they had black blood in them, right, through the maternal, right, through the maternal, and then they would find out, oh well, we were actually black through our great grandmother. That's what would end up happening. And then they would figure out, and then what ended up actually happening after that, especially in the South, was that if you're passing, then you would kind of keep that passing lineage, right, and you would just go down and be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Then people would take a blood test DNA
Keep
test,
that quiet.
and then it's like,
Environment
you're black,
leave-
and
They just leave the environment altogether. That's what the passing was. If the darkest person would be, there'd be sometimes history where it'd be like the darkest person, the family literally would go ghost, and that person would be sitting there in the South with the home, with the plantation, don't know where that passing family has gone. East Coast, West Coast, Midwest Coast. They just
but understand this. In that course of passing, and I there's a very big dynamic here, especially, and this is big when it comes to understanding reparations and the thought process of reparations, because a lot of our people really don't and haven't known our history with these different aspects, because they are hidden. They are hidden, because why would you want to tell anybody? Because you then become a mark, right? You then become in the crosshairs. But what ends up happening, and what ended up happening, was that during the time of post-Civil War, okay, they call it the Nadir of the South, post-Civil War, and the reason being is because you didn't. So after the South, during Reconstruction, and there are many books that reference this. After Reconstruction, black people were actually very they were on a plane of civility. They were on a plane of civility like none other. Okay, when I tell you about, like, even in today's society of like civil rights and things of that nature, matter of fact, right after that, that was when you had the most equal society that was taking place in the South. You had the most equal society. That, in the history books, they actually proved that. When the North left the South, you still had a lot of Northerners that stayed, because what a lot of the Northerners were doing was that they were making money and they were getting rich, taking the money that was there in those traditional families there in the South. And not only that, they would then try to say, well, you know what? We're all family now, right? So they did almost a feudal system type of thing that you would have there in medieval Europe, for the most part.
Yeah.
That, hey, you can't, you can fight me, but you don't really want to fight me, because now we're all family, right? We're all family now.
Yeah, because when the North acquired the South from France, again, this is a whole social. We're talking about different language and different thoughts. You speak French, and you've been to that francophone, the anglophone, and when that clashed, and they saw these uppity Negroes with plantations. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was just really
that was more in Louisiana. Those are more in your Louisiana, Mississippi enclaves. Yeah, I'm talking about, when you're talking about the South, in terms of Civil War areas, and yeah, and every part of the South was very, very different. Now, when I can only refer to, southeastern, southeastern Virginia, northeastern, North Carolina, in that Hampton Roads Tidewater area, because what was going on was that you had a lot of the white folks, just to, I know white people are going to be coming on in here. Oh, you said white folks, yeah, what? Yeah, for the purpose of this,
folks,
okay,
the light skin folks.
Yeah, for purpose of this historical, it's context, it's historical context. But what would happen is that the illegitimate, children born out of there they would then stash their money in that line, in that lineage. Because what white people, and I'm not trying to say this
So
to be negative, but
northern people,
yeah,
European
this is
people, so they're
yeah,
not.
the European, yeah, I think that's probably a little bit better.
Yeah.
But the European, the Anglo-Saxons, you know, for the South did not trust the people in the North. And you know, you have to understand that that lack of distrust. Well, let me tell you this. White people know how to hide their money.
Are you talking about American history? This sounds like Game of Thrones.
No,
That's
this
what
It really does.
no, it's not.
the
It's actually
complexity.
not Game of Thrones. This is actually American
It,
history.
yeah,
I
it,
know. It just sounds like Game of Thrones, though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it kind of does, but
it's
this
kind
is
of
actually, but
Game
this
of
is
Trailers.
American history. But yeah, but this is American
Sorry.
history. This is American history because why? Because the thought process was in a few years, right? In probably another decade or two. Because what did you just had? You had the Revolutionary War, and then what? A decade or two later, you literally had the War of 1812. About 20 years later. So their thought process is, okay, we just had a war, but we know that probably in another decade or in another couple of years when they leave, they're going to be back because they're going to be back wanting more money. Because why? Because they know how they think. Right? So if you know how you think because you are the same people, then what are you going to do? You're going to hide your funds. And if you're not going after, right, the quote unquote black or mulatto folks because they've gotten the quote unquote pass, right?
And
Then
that was
what are
the
you doing?
invention of quote unquote whiteness. Like you're saying, that's how whiteness was invented. I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop right there. Go ahead, Brendan.
Well, whiteness was invented way before that because they had to have a standard, and they were inventing that standard, back in Virginia in 1641 and things of that nature, because because there were a lot of mulattoes just running around, so they had to they had to so the way that the racism worked, especially after Reconstruction era, Native of the South, and then what was happening after that in the 1900s, right? The early 1900s. What were black folks doing? Black folks were up and leaving, right? Establishing places in New York City, Chicago, and other cities, especially in the North. Because why? Because there was an economic disparagement that was happening in the South, right? People were coming through and they were doing what? Taking black families away from their land that they had in their generations for at least at that time now 2 or 3 generations from the end of the Civil War, because what was happening was, okay, I can't retain my land now, but I'm going to give land here, because as this land is here, then guess what I'm going to do in a couple generations? Look, I'll recoup the land. Hey, if it's funds, who cares about the funds? Because I can just recoup the land. The land ain't going anywhere. It's real estate, right? It's a fixed it's a fixed commodity that's located at this plot line, right? Or these coordinates. So that's what was going on in America, in the South. And then as folks were trying to then recoup, because it was a liquidation, that's really what that was. It was a liquidation to do what? To get back their funds. So when everything and that's another rabbit hole when you talk about reparations, right? So what was happening was, as people then were seeing this and recognizing this, if you were then on land, well, the land was, we could find you easier, right? If you had funds, or other, investment vehicles in terms of, insurance policies or other, shares or things of that nature, right? Well, those were more of your, okay, these are closer akin, right? These are closer akin. So as the folks that were close, kind of had it.
When you were talking with illegitimate family members that you were saying, they kind of hoarded
Yes,
it.
Exactly. So they kept the ties on the black family members. They kept ties on the black family members. They did. However, with the advent of all these things going on, some folks, especially black family members that kind of knew about stuff and were able to gain an access, they would take what they would need to take and they would bounce. They wouldn't take the whole thing, but they would take a little and then get up wherever they needed to go. That's and
See,
and
this
and and you would have different towns and communities established because of that. You
and,
you
and
you would.
praise the Most High. It's kind of bringing it back to the fires, brother. What you're saying, because this little community, even that community in Altadena, as black communities, they cannot sell their land. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is that time. This is that time for them to lock down even together. Sister Cassandra and the community members. You feel me? Because especially California, California does change whatever they say. Oh, California makes the culture, but who makes the culture in California? Black and brown people. Period. Okay,
Well, it's
here,
yeah, and it's always been black people, and
LA
again,
was founded by black
yeah,
people.
and
Okay,
it was, and understand,
a mixed black. They were black, but they
there
were
were
a mixture. They were
yeah,
admixtures, but mostly of African descent.
and don't get it twisted. I think a lot of folks get it twisted that it's like, well, there was nothing in LA. No, there actually was. There was actually, there was actually Hispanic communities that were there. Hispanic communities, and you also had Indian
Afro-Hispanic, and,
communities.
and people got to understand there was more African people that were brought into this land, into Mexico, California. There was a lot, and
Yeah, because they were
support as
working. They were working the
exactly.
land because the land was much harsher. It was a much harsher environment than what you would have, in
It,
places south of the border.
and in addition to their cousins who were already here, who have architectural remnants that they are related to the Egyptians. I'm just saying, or the Hebrew people who built the the uh the temples. Do you
I
understand
don't,
what I'm
I don't, I don't, I don't, I don't, to me, I really don't prescribe to that because I look at it like this. I look at it like this,
saying?
right?
Melanated people.
If you have a center of knowledge and culture,
Hmm.
right? You could say that the Japanese, right, the Chinese, right, and the Filipinos, right? Years later, they could say we descended from what? From the American culture, right, or American society.
You're right.
Did that really make them American? No, but they knew, architectural practices, right? They developed, architectural design that we had, and they just put their own spin on it, right?
Right.
So I don't, yeah. So to me, I don't prescribe to that confluence. I just believe that there is an influence,
Mm.
that they receive, right?
Or
Um,
the sharing of knowledge. That makes sense.
yes, yeah, exactly.
We've always been mixing because again the race thing didn't come to fruition until the race to the new world, and that's again we're breaking down these concepts too, and I just thank you for
Mhm.
giving us the history. I'll pull back because it's fascinating what you're saying. I just kind of
Yeah.
was there.
So because a lot of folks, when the history of America has been hidden, it's been hidden to everybody because even with what I'm saying, it's that's how America and white people get it, embarrassed. They get embarrassed. They get embarrassed when they see, black folks, African Americans, and they're looking just like them, except they're at a different hue, right? They get embarrassed when they look and they're
What do
saying,
you
well,
mean phenotypically when they
yeah,
look like them?
yeah, phenotypically, exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
I thought you meant like in terms of their economy looking like them, like
No,
living
no,
in.
I'm talking
Okay.
about like
All right.
literally, like you see like literally black folks that look like white folks, but they just have melanin in
And
them.
it's like, how do you explain that then?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that is hard. It is hard to explain, and but they don't want to explain it. It is hard for them to explain it. But that is the reality, of what's has happened here.
It's only hard to explain if you're whole history is rooted in lies. It's
Yes.
pretty obvious, really.
And it actually brings you back to,
Somebody's daddy wasn't looking like all the others.
it actually looks at, Abraham, you feel me? When he looked into the stars, there's so many, just because there's so many, but where are we going? Even Yeshua had to check people who could have been of the blood, but wasn't really of the spirit. Does that make sense? Like, it really does. Abraham has blessed everyone. We all have, need to add mixture. It's just, but where at the end of the day, the sheep and the goat,
Well, yeah, but
the wheat
yeah,
and the tare.
and you can also understand that. Look, you have Ishmaelites, and you also had Edomites, right? So you still have a lot of the Edomite influence. They just have taken on different countries, and especially within Europe, right? That is their blessing. Their blessing has been to enjoy the fat of the land by way of the sword. That is literally Esau's blessing, right? However, that blessing does actually come with the curse because
It does.
when you try to hold people down like that for generations and years, or not just years but generations, millennia,
Centuries.
exactly. This is that time to where now, if we're talking about it, like I said, when I say they always listen to our channels and our platforms, because why? Because if we're saying this, then guess what they're going to do? That gives them a starting point to research.
Yes, it does. I mean,
and here's the thing, and they're not going to let you know that they used our research for their starting point.
Heck no.
Know what? And I'm just going to say, boom, Diana G. Thomas, MBA. It's very interesting what she did say about these. It's true. The migration of the people from the South really came and planted and showed California, all throughout California, how to grow on this land. So here you have the indigenous people, Afro-indigenous people from, Southern California, and then all the Southern people who came to Northern California taught these people how to grow during their manifest destiny. And there was a lot of indigenous people that looked African up here in these parts in Northern California. They look more.
So I was just going to say, when they gave those things to those people, did they then have to hire out other people to work the lands? Because we already know that, especially the first one, that's how the first ones, who we know they don't work like that.
Well, yeah. So so Pilot J Dub was asking. So this conversation went all over the place. It did, but it actually didn't, because here's the thing. So a lot of the pockets of communities there in California did come from the South. And the way that they came from the South was that they actually brought their monies and their funds that they pulled together from when they left those places in the South.
Or sometimes ran away. Sometimes they had to run away because sometimes
and that was beforehand. That was So
no,
they were
even in the 40s. No,
yeah, in the 1840s. Yes, that was beforehand. That was before California had been established. Because remember, California was established in the 1840s. A lot of those places were just kind of the pockets of establishment.
I hear what you're saying, but brethren, Karis, I have spoken with an 80-year-old woman who says that her family had to literally sneak out of the South because they were so indebted. They were working the cotton mills, and their family had to sneak them out. And it's like the 40s, the 30s, the 40s. Here,
30s, yes, the 1930s and the 1940s. Yes. So there was different waves of different things, because you had after the Nadir, right? You had an economic re-enslavement. It was economic sharecroppers, things of that nature. What did they also call it? Seasonal workers, where you had folks literally going from who were the first. Look, the orange pickers here in Florida, it wasn't who you see now. That was our people. That was my family. Those are my family members that were the orange pickers that were going up as seasonal workers from all up I-95 from Georgia, South Carolina, all the way down to Miami. but it took them a generation to kind of, get things together. And then when they settled, they settled, right? And and it caused um, more urban economic growth in different areas like Fort Pierce and other places, right? But again, not everybody leaving out of the South, especially when it came to African Americans for the course of this conversation, they weren't leaving out empty-handed. A lot of black folks came and then they left, and they would move on out to places in L.A. Don't think that the one
and
sister and that
some of
founded
them were
Beverly
doing good
Hills.
because they were doing good, because some of them were like working for the train station. They were the porters or something. There's like a real big industry.
Yeah, they were working the land. They were working the land
And
there.
some worked at train stations, and
And
they
they're exactly, because why? They were very enterprising. Don't think that black folks there, weren't. When white folks kind of finally came through in the late, 1930s and 40s, because they were hearing what was happening, right? How's all these black folks have all this land? You see what I'm saying? This is why you have, Bruce's Beach, and how what is that, Huntington Beach, our
mm-hmm,
man was
mm-hmm.
established,
Yeah,
right?
Manhattan. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It was in Manhattan, one of those in Orange County.
It's
Because
Manhattan.
why?
Yeah, too. Manhattan Beach is
Because
Bruce.
because we were settling the land, and we were providing, right, the economic efficiencies, right, transportation, things of that nature.
Hermosa.
So
That's what you're
yeah,
right. I think
exactly.
it's
So
like
even though the land wasn't all that great, it wasn't all that favorable for us. It's still, to me, Southern California isn't really a great favorable land. To me, it's still very deserty. It's just Arizona with an ocean, in my opinion. That's how that goes. You know.
And interestingly enough, when you look at Hermosa Beach, I mean, they almost tell on themselves. Hermosa is Spanish for like brothers and sisters, right?
Mhm.
So Hermosa Beach was Bruce's beach, which was the brothers and sisters beach. You feel me? Like even when you look at
Mhm.
it linguistically, I'm sorry, bro. Just like you feel
Yeah.
me? The forensic
So
evidence, like right here.
yeah.
So
So
you're saying that when your forefathers had built up what they built up, they were where they were, and they looked over, and it was like, huh, what are they doing over there?
well, that's
And
well,
they
that's
came
what
and
that just didn't happen in Los Angeles. That actually happened in a majority of all of these now Western nations, or excuse me, Western countries, or not quite. Oh my goodness,
you mean
Western
Western
cities.
Western
areas,
What?
cities.
Western areas. South.
Yeah, Western
Here's the
cities.
thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
here's the
because
thing.
like
Chantel.
Phoenix, you literally had
Yeah,
Phoenix, you had Tucson, right? You had Flagstaff, you even had
Texas,
Denver. You
Tejas,
know,
the worst, the
yeah,
worst.
yeah,
Here-
a lot of things in Texas. Yeah, those were
Here's the thing.
former, black communities that had been taken over, and
Here's
black folks ran out.
And
Yes.
here's the thing, Sister Chantal, the black people that were in at that point Mexico, the U.S. at that time was having beef with Mexico because Mexico would free the black slaves once they got to Mexico territories, i.e., California,
Mhm.
Nevada, Arizona. You know what I mean? So
So
have
so
the fight.
understand so understand there was actually a backdrop in that Pancho Villa, story, that movie Pancho Villa. It's because you did have a lot of um uh formerly African American, now Mexicans, that were there, and they were just going over just to
But
raid.
isn't that the portion that they always leave out of these films, the
Yeah,
black
they're not gonna tell
history?
you. Yeah, because then
Definitely.
people would ask, well, how did all these black folks get on over there? Well, because here's the thing. Again, when we pulled up our money, and it wasn't just places like Tulsa and Greenwood, that was one of the effects of there within the central United States. But you also had other areas, especially there in the South, and I would say West, and when you talk about California, San Francisco and other places that were settled really by African Americans, but they don't want to tell you that they settled that. They'll just tell you, oh well, somehow black people came on over, and somehow they were there. So they're very disingenuous with the history, and
It's
And it was way before Buffalo Soldiers.
Yeah, exactly. And that is really why they had the Buffalo Soldier, the 7th Cavalry contingent over there in
to calm people down.
Yeah, because
because they look like them.
It wasn't just to calm people down, but a lot of African Americans. Hey, before you go on over there, hey, we could use your help. They were being recruited. They were being recruited, and that's why you have there in Las Vegas, in Phoenix and other areas, Tucson, things of that nature. This is how those places were able to really be established.
And the original cowboy was the caballero, whatever, however you say it in Spanish. You know what I mean? That is the brown person that be riding the horses. That, again, a lot of it is what brown people have established, and then the West in their manifest or manifest destiny. You know what I'm saying? Like, even when we talk about what is it, Clark and Lewis, if it was because of York, Clark and Lewis, York and Sacagawea, why they was even able to survey some of these areas. Anyway, I'm just gonna leave it there. It's just really.
I just wanted to quickly say something in regards to how disingenuous their history is. When I was younger, as a kid, I used to when we were being taught the history of Protestantism and how that came about and everything, and then you learning about the history, the way they would talk on it, it's like I used to wonder, so this ran parallel to the slave trade. And I kept trying to figure out, why are they not talking about the slavery that was going alongside Protestantism?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they wouldn't talk about that because they don't want what they did to sully their what they wanted as this pristine religion out of Romanism, which was the Roman Catholic Church. So they did the disingenuous thing. It's everything that they do about their history. The Roman Catholic Church basically hid or started burning books of the certain books of the Bible, and then obviously nailing the Bible to the church, and only certain people could read it. They stopped teaching people. They stopped their education, closed down schools. And, funny enough, I'm saying it and you'd think I'm actually talking about what's going on today. But they did all of that to hide the history of who people were. Then they did that again with Protestantism to keep the purity of this new religion sect. And they removed, and then they removed who the Christians were that were being killed, and said it's like, oh, it was the Christians, but they don't tell you that it was actually the Christians that were being killed were those who converted to Christianity, who were actually, and I'm using this quote unquote Jews, and I use that deliberately because then they also don't want to tell you who the quote unquote Jews were. Everything about their history, from the time the Romans came out of Jerusalem, has been nothing but lies agreed upon by the oppressor, as Bonaparte said. And it's funny, but there's all these little breadcrumbs and clues. Like I always used to wonder, out of all the nations, these European nations that conquered Africa, why is it that Italy never really had much of a foot in Africa except for one country, and that was Ethiopia? And then when you wake up and you realize where Jerusalem was, you also understand that, oh, they never forgot about where Jerusalem was. They've never stopped trying to get back in there to Jerusalem, to the land, and so on and so forth. Everything that these people do is nothing but lies and lies and lies and more cover up and lies. And it's getting to the point where I feel like as if they're starting to choke on it to the point where it's now being, they have to throw it up. And as they're throwing it up, it's like everybody else is starting to see, oh, hold on, you just spat out a bit of truth there. And that's another bit of truth there. And it's like everything that they've been trying to hide is now coming out. It's like a lot of them, especially the younger generation, are starting to reveal the sins of their fathers and telling, well, this is what they've done. Oh my gosh, I just woke up and I realized we're not actually, I remember there was a American blonde hair, blue eyed girl. She literally said, I just woke up and realized today that we're actually the bad guys. And I was like, wow, really? You didn't know that? I think this was either last year or the year before that the video, was done. And I found that fascinating. These people really, truly believe that they are the good guys. And it's like I've always said, you believe that you're the Superman, you're the Captain America, you're Supergirl, you're Wonder Woman. That's what they believe. They always consistently paint themselves the narrative that we are the heroes. So when people turn around and say, that's I don't read the Bible, that's a white man's book.
That's so ignorant. Exactly.
It shows the fact that you never read it. And then of course they will say, because you say, well, have you read it? Yeah, I've read it. No, you haven't, because if you had read it, you'd know it's not their book. It consistently talks about their destruction. And then you hear black people say, I know how these people think. Really? So if you know how they think, you know that they consistently see themselves as the heroes. They will never paint themselves as the villain. They get the Brits to do that, but they never paint themselves as the villains, right? In their story, in their little story. If you know that and you know who your enemy is, then how can you, who claim to actually say that you've read it, how can you turn around and say that this is a white man's book?
And might I add to that, like you said, the Italians with the proximity to Ethiopia, whatever, to North Africa and Ethiopia, remind ones and ones, they only were in Ethiopia for 5 years. That's as far as they could go. And the Most High said, nope, we're not doing this. And imagine the stronghold that the Catholic Church, this Roman government church state establishment, created after 300 something, like 300 years after Mashiach and walked the earth and, converted us. And after they made us suffer so much, our ancestors, just this Roman entity had so much of its claws on the pseudo European Renaissance royalty, however they decided they were going to be royal, you know what I'm saying? And then come in the Protestant movement. Remember, the Protestant movement is nothing but another daughter of the harlot. You feel me? So, and then again, I'm not, and here, the children of the Americas, the children of England, the children of France, the children of Spain, the children of here in the Americas. And I'm talking, when I say Americas, I'm talking also the islands. I'm talking also North Canada. And I'm also talking about South America, because, they try to cut us up. Of course, we can see American mainland in the East Coast that was mostly Anglophone. And it's that Anglophone, I would like to say the Anglophone, the English, I don't want to say they're victims, but remember the people that they sent here in the Americas and Australia.
Yeah, there were unwitting participants, but they were still agreeable with everything. They were. You cut on out, Sister Newbie and me.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you do it to your article, please? I was just thinking, this is so bad.
They were degenerates. Let's never forget that. Yes, they were. I'll leave it at that. But the people that they had in Americas and contra, in Australia, oh my goodness, degenerates, criminals, victims. Who knows? You know what I mean? So this is where it gets all. But
it all does what? It all comes down. And when you haven't had a system where you haven't had to repent, right? All you're doing is you're just kind of, layering on the generational curses.
Exactly.
You may have it good right now, but those generational curses, they will pick back on up. So let me get some final thoughts, because I gotta close this on down.
Final thoughts is thank you so much for having us on here so we can discuss as we see Babylon is falling. It's falling and it's falling fast. And we just have to stay on our knees and give thanks that we can have these reasonings and know that as Esau's kingdom comes down, we're moving up. But we got to hold on to each other and hold on to other sisters and brothers who are going through it. And I'm praying for Sister Cassandra, and maybe a respite in Tanzania would be good for her family.
I'm actually thinking that too.
Yep,
I'm really
yep.
thinking that too.
Tanzania with the family, and that could be why the Most High wants it to happen. Trust me. Now, let me tell you something, Sister Cassandra. People that I knew that have gone through the Paradise fires in 2018, it was a long walk. They've gone through a long thing, but you know what? They tried it. They stayed true. They stayed on top of their policy. They advocated. They did their FEMA thing. They got their FEMA money. And some of my friends who lost their property in Paradise actually are doing better than before. And they did learn a lot. I'm not saying everybody humbled out, but Paradise and fires are great equalizers. So I think a trip to Tanzania and see how the Most High is going to work it, and praying for Altadena and Pasadena that Black families, hold strong to their property and don't fall for the okey doke that we've been talking about that's been happening in the Americas for the last 300-400 years in terms of real estate. But let's remember, the real estate is in our Mashiach, his kingdom, but he's still going to bring it down to earth too. Thank you, family. Thank you for being patient with me. Bless you.
All right. Thank you, sister, for being me. All right.
I want to apologize for us taking over your show. You had something else that you needed to talk about. I'm so sorry, but forgive me.
Yeah.
And I just
Well, I had showed that earlier, so you really weren't hindering anything, because I went over that early in the first hour.
okay.
With Sister Cassandra, and I showed the photos. So if folks want to get that on replay, that was the first.
I probably will have to.
Yeah.
I just want to say to Sister Cassandra and to any of our Israelite brothers and sisters, whether they're awake or not, my prayers are going out to you. We're literally in the end game, so don't see this as a heartbreak, and don't see this as the end or as a devastation in a bad sense. But we knew that this is going to be something that we would have to go through. And I'm not saying this because, well, I'm sitting pretty where I am. We're spoiled over here. I'm not going to lie. We are spoiled rotten. And I feel that whatever is coming over here will be economic based and it will be very gutter. But we all have to go through something just for us to get out. And this is the birthing of his people, the birthing of the nation. A birth is not an easy thing. It's always going to be hard. There's going to be some tears and there's going to be some cursing. And any woman that has given birth knows exactly what it's like to give birth. There's tears, there's cursing, there's squeezing of hands, there's everything. There is everything. It's probably the only time the Most High is like, okay, I'm going to, whatever comes out your mouth, I'm going to allow it. I'm going to allow it. I'm going to allow it because I know the pain. I understand. So it's like we're going to go through what we're going to go through, but there is a light, and the light is Yahuwah. It's our Father, so it hurts, it breaks my heart when I see our people go through this, because we have gone through so much, and I'm like, Father, when can we just be at peace where we can lay our foot down and just be like, okay, this is us. This is us. I want us to be at peace. I want us to be free. I want us to be able to establish roots, to set down, for our children to be able to play and to be friends with one another, and for us to be able to pass on anything that we have to them, to the next generation, and for us to see our children bring their children, things that they do and they take for granted. They don't even appreciate, they're starting to appreciate what they're losing now. They never appreciated it. And as a result, the Most High is like, he's removing what they took and could have had as a blessing. And although, yes, it was a blessing, Karis, but their blessing came with a curse, because even though the curse really is the way they have to obtain their blessing, you have to fight to get your blessing and to keep your blessing. But if it's done by people that seems to enjoy being so warlike, is it really of a curse? Only now in the last days is it a curse, when they do not have the power to back up what they want and to hold on to it. But they could have done better. They knew that they were supposed to rule over us. They always knew this, but they didn't have to forward the affliction. They could have been our overseers for our punishment. And then when the time came, they could have relinquished and done what was honorable for those who like to claim that they are a people of honor and a Christian so-called nation. But they chose not to.
Exactly.
They chose not to. And that is, for me, you was appointed to be our punishment. I'm not even going to be like, you know what? That was what you was appointed for. But when it came time to honor, when the next generation came and inherited, and it came down to honor, every generation, even right up to this point, the Most High has looked at you and said, well, what are you going to do? And every generation that has come and gone has failed. So when those who come up now and say, well, why should I suffer? Why, I wasn't the slave owner. I didn't take your people. You had the responsibility to set right what was done wrong, but you chose not to. This is your legacy. You have inherited. Sorry. All right. Shalom to everyone. I love you all.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you. Yeah, I have to go. I have actually had an appointment at 11. I didn't let folks know that. Thank you, family, again for your support. I have the link for Sister Cassandra posted in the chat. I also have it in the community for the Covenant Awakenings post. Again, thank you all for your support and your prayers for our community, for our people, and even for our channels that are able to come on out here and provide this content. So with that said, family, most high willing, I will be back on tomorrow. And with that, shalom.